We at Reliance are privileged to be one of the largest investors in the state of Orissa. Jio's investment in Orissa for development of digital infrastructure and services have opened new avenues for growth for high-tech industries in the state.
It has a huge connectivity like Paradip Port and Dhamra Port through the road and freight corridor for railway. So it will be very easy to connect to the world.
The Tata Group is proud of its century-old association with the state of Odisha. Recently, our modern steel plant at Kalinganagar has put Odisha in the world steel map. The state's modern IT infrastructure has plug-and-play facilities and is one of the foremost campuses.
For us in the Aditya Birla Group, Odisha has been one of our most preferred investment destinations. Chief Minister Shri Naveen Patnaik's exceptional leadership has been the singular factor in the rapid progress of Odisha. The state government has leveraged its competitive advantages, including its progressive policies and governance framework, are a big pull factor.
In a span of just 3 years, we have doubled cargo at our Dhamra port. The support we received from the Honorable Chief Minister, Sri Naveen Patnaik ji, and his government is outstanding.
We at L&T take great pride in supporting the Skill in Odisha initiative. We have collaborated with Government of Odisha in imparting skills in multiple sectors in the last 6 years.
ITC has a substantial and growing presence in the state of Orissa. The low cost of operations, the availability of talented manpower, and the robust infrastructure make Orissa a compelling investment destination.
Wherever you go in the world, you hear about urban decay. Welcome to Bhubaneswar. Here we talk about the urban bloom.
I welcome you to Odisha. Come, join the juggernaut.
Good evening. I am Namrata Chahal, Secretary, Flow Bhubaneswar, and I am delighted to welcome all of you to Flow Bhubaneswar's national webinar, Women Will Save the World. The video, which was just shown, was made by my government of India. Flow is the women's wing of FICCI and the only women's chamber of commerce in India. Started in 1986, it has 17 chapters and over 8,000 members across India. The Bhubaneswar chapter was launched on 18th April this year. The topic for today's webinar, as I mentioned earlier, is Women Will Save the World, focusing, as the name suggests, on women empowerment. A warm welcome to our past presidents, the Presidium, governing body members, chapter chairs, Pan-India members, and to our national president, Janvi Phukan. We are pleased to have here with us Lisa Powell-Graham as our special guest, who is an inspiration to many. I would like to invite Chairperson Dharitri Patnaik to give a welcome address.
Thanks, Namrata. Jai Jagannath. Today has been a very, very auspicious day for people in Orissa and Odias world over. The Supreme Court finally passed a verdict that we can go ahead with the Rath Yatra in Puri. So this brings us immense pleasure. So I would like to start this webinar with offering my prayers and obeisance to Lord Jagannath. This has been a very interesting topic as to women will save the world. Especially coming from FLOW, which is Speaker's Women Wing, which has 8,000 women as members. A very interesting organization we are with Ms. Janvi Phukan as the national president. 17 chapters, 8,000 women. And it's very interesting to see how a membership-based organization uses its resources, its access to resources and power to empower others. A very, very powerful concept. And with this pandemic, we've been always trying to find out who's won the battle, who's lost the battle. And we realized that many countries, especially which are led by women, like Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand and Angela Merkel of Germany, are the countries that have done exceptionally well. So we wanted to find out as to what is it in women and why is it that they make better leaders? Or is it that we as women always think so? And I personally always believed in transformational leadership, a leadership that would empower others. It would make the followers as leaders. You know, that's how what leadership is defined, where you don't have followers, you have everyone as a team member, team players who become leaders, who work hand in hand with you. So this is something that's always intrigued me, the different types of leadership and how do we handle it, and what is it that we as women should be doing as leaders, and also what is it in us that we can improve on. So we have with us today Lisa, who's been a friend since last 15 years. We celebrate 15 years of friendship today, and we graduated from Kennedy School together in 2005, and she's been a leader, a speaker, an author, and her story has always intrigued me. And I thought it would be good to bring her story to all of you, her narrative, her narrations. So welcome, Lisa.
Yeah, Thank you. Thank you so much, Sari, today. I'm so honored to be here.
Thank you. And before we have our interaction with Lisa, I would like to welcome our national president, Ms. Janvi Phukan, to give her welcome address and address our chapter. Bhubaneswar chapter is a new chapter we have launched exactly 2 months ago with 60 members, and we've been trying our best to understand the values and principles and the philosophy of flow and to uphold it. So Janvi Phukan is a staunch advocate for sustainable livelihood and business. She is a co-founder of two nationally awarded businesses, and her companies are Jungle Travels India and Assam Bengal Navigation Company. She's been working, and they're focused on tourism, tea, textiles, and jungle travels and long distance river cruises. Janvi's been working on women's empowerment and upliftment, and she strongly believes in the development, social and economic development of women. She's the 37th president of FLOW and the first one to be from the Northeast India. So I welcome Janvi to this webinar. Janvi, please give your welcome address. Please, Gaurav, please unmute Janvi.
Better? Can you hear me now? Unmuted?
We can hear you now.
You can hear me now. Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, good evening once again, Bhubaneswar. Namaskar. Kimiti Acho. Bhubaneswar, the temple city of India, the Lord of Lord Jagannath, home of Lord Jagannath. This is wonderful news that you've given us today, Dharitri. We can feel with you for the Yatra. Bhubaneswar is also the Utkala mentioned in our national anthem. And Bhubaneswar, with this intricate tapestry of history, tribal culture, and coastal beauty, it is also one of the significant destinations for investment in the country today. And your beautiful city is now part of the most visited tourist destinations in Eastern India, forming the golden tourism triangle with Puri and Kunarak. I would like to welcome Lisa Powell-Graham on behalf of the 17 chapters of FICCI Flow that I represent as the national president today. I'd like to add here that Bhubaneswar is the youngest chapter in our Flow family and has made us the grand total of 17 now. And we're very happy to address your group today. And for Lisa Powell-Graham, you are the globe-trotting, world-changing, inspiring game changer. Dharitri has already told you a bit about the organization. It's 8,000 women, and they're women across the length and breadth of the country. They've all come together with no agenda but to work together, to do our bit, to empower women, and do our bit to work with women at different levels. We work at the grassroots, we work at the middle sector, and at the corporate level. And looking at what your background and what Dharitri told me about, there's so much learning that we're going to take back today. You are a political and strategic planning consultant, a writer and inspirational speaker, and women's empowerment and leadership coach. You have been part of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign in 2016. There's so many things we need to learn from you today. And the fact that you know that is women's empowerment is the key strategy for the economic development of a nation, any nation. And women's leadership in political decision-making processes is so important for the nation today. And like Dharitri has mentioned, it is the countries which have been able to handle the COVID crisis better, but so happen to be also women-led. So ours as a business chamber is critical to gather here today to listen to your inputs, because you have always spoken about the role of women in the world, and also what you said in your own words, that your passion is to light the room on fire with inspiration, to help people tap into their own sense of greatness and to step fully into their own power. So we are all delighted here with Flow Bhubaneswar and the rest of my 17 chapters pan-India to listen to Lisa Powell-Graham. Thank you very much. Over to you, Lisa.
It is indeed a great pleasure to have Lisa Powell-Graham here with us today. Lisa is a TEDx speaker, a certified women's leadership coach, a Harvard-trained strategist, and women's political candidate trainer for CREW, civically re-engaged women. Lisa Powell-Graham is a proven visionary leader with more than 20 years success in campaign management. strategic planning, fundraising, and communications. She has been an in-demand keynote and inspirational speaker for more than a decade, specializing in women's leadership and transforming pain into power. Her life's mission is empowering girls and women globally. Lisa was part of Hillary Clinton's paid presidential campaign staff in 2016, running a campaign office in Philadelphia. 96% of Lisa's ward voted for Hillary. She also worked as field organizer for Barack Obama in Virginia in 2008. Lisa earned her master's in public administration degree from Howard Kennedy School of Government in 2005, and after graduating was hired by the then mayor, Gavin Newsom. Lisa is a Martha Beck certified life coach, an inspirational public speaker and writer who specializes in empowering girls and women to live their dreams. I would like to request Janvi Pukan, National President of FLOW, to ask Lisa Powell Graham for opening question.
Thank you. Well, among all the many, many questions that we want to ask you, Lisa, let me mention about the memoir that you are publishing called Living in the Miracle Zone. Look forward to reading it. And can you tell us more about it?
Absolutely, and thank you so much, Daritri and Namrita and Janabi and all of you for joining me here today. First of all, I'm deeply honored to be here with all of you. So yes, I'm happy to share about that. So it's my story of my global travels and my journey to becoming a woman who can stand in her full power and use my voice to help empower other women and uplift the world. So I tell some of my own personal story, including some of my background where, I, as many women globally, unfortunately, 1 in 3 women globally will be a victim of violence in her lifetime. And I have been a victim of sexual assault in my lifetime, spent a lot of healing energy and work to heal from that and empower myself and uplift my own voice so that I am able to uplift other women. So, my personal mission on earth really is to empower and inspire girls and women globally. I believe each one of us has the power to do that, using our own voice, using our own work. And every time we take a stand for ourselves, we take a stand for women everywhere. Every time we lift up other women, the entire tide is rising. So I just felt inspired to share some of my own personal story to help women remember that no matter your circumstances and no matter what traumas or difficulties you may have endured on your path, that you can absolutely rise above them and that you can use your own voice and your own power to make it a better world. So yeah, it's just want to be sure that all women are able to stand in their own power and help make a difference. This planet desperately needs your leadership right now. So we all need to come together and stand in our full power, use our voices.
I take the next question, our Dharitri. Let me just continue on this, Lisa. Is that tell us, because you see that wide perspective that you come from.
Yes.
What is the message you would like to have for the women of a country like India, which is, coming into its own, and it's a country of women, strong women who are trying to get leadership roles? How would you address it? And how different are we, the Indian context from the American context?
That is an excellent question. I think that, first of all, let me preface that by saying I have been blessed to travel to India twice so far myself and spent about 6 weeks in India and very much look forward to returning. So far I have been able to spend time in Mumbai and New Delhi, in Goa, in Puttaparthi, and had amazing time with beautiful friends in India. I've been to a wedding in India, visited some ashrams in India. I've had extraordinary experiences in India. So in my feeling, in terms of, there's some commonalities when we look at women's leadership globally, certainly, right? So there are some common elements that we can all be working on as women. And then, of course, country to country, there can be differentials in what we can pursue. So I'll quickly address a few of the commonalities and then talk specifically about recommendations for the women of India. I believe that all of us, there's a lot of excellent research. Leanin.org is a website that Sheryl Sandberg had put together, who wrote the book Lean In. Sheryl Sandberg, the CEO of Facebook. And she talks about there are a lot of ways that women are still needing to catch up to men in terms of there are gaps in mentorship. Typically men have more mentors immediately available to them in their sectors or are more easily lined up with mentors. Women can be seeking and looking for additional mentors in their fields. There are gaps in confidence, that women up until their 40s, there are gaps in confidence compared to men, and self-doubt starts for young girls at about age 8. Right? So there are many ways that we need to, when girls are very young, to be uplifting them, to have the confidence to stand in their own power, right? So there are inequalities still, of course, globally in terms of pay scale, right? That women are not paid as much as men. In the United States, that is especially true for women of color, for Black women and Latina women, Black women earn 61 cents on the dollar compared to men. And Latina women 54 cents on the dollar compared to white men. So there are a lot of discrepancies. We are not yet, of course, at a level of gender equality globally. So there are things that each of us can be working on in order to increase our level of confidence and mentorship, supporting and networking and uplifting each other. I think that specifically, one of the things that I found so profound in my travels to India that I think is an incredible blessing and asset to all of you as women in leadership roles is that there truly is a foundation, I believe, in India that I experienced that was different from the United States in terms of the spiritual underpinnings and values that I believe, for me, certainly India was a country where I felt that people really embraced the sacred as part of everyday life as well. And the sense that we are all operating from a core sense of human values, the sense that we are all here to be more loving beings and to be of service. There's a very foundational kind of value system that I have experienced in my travels to India that I think is really critical, because I think that leadership is also founded upon a set of core values, right? So that we as individuals have to have a set of core values that we are absolutely committed to, in ethics and integrity, in being able to uplift and inspire others, in basic human compassion and kindness and empathy. And I think those are also values that we need to have when we are operating within an organization or leading an organization, have a key set of values from which our mission statement and our purpose statement derives. And I think some of this foundational work is something that is so critical as women are rising up in leadership roles. And the women who, as Darichi had said earlier, that the prime ministers of various nations, the women who are leading the way with the COVID-19 effort, right? Some of what is characterizing their leadership has been this sense of empathy, this sense of compassion, this sense of being able to powerfully and forcefully lead and make decisions that are difficult decisions, but to do it from a base of compassion and love for the people of their nation, right? So I think that in a nation like India, where you are also, as we are in the United States, struggling with some immense challenges, including, of course, the global pandemic that we are all experiencing together right now. So I believe that leaning into each other, so events like this are so critical to stay networked with other women, to be learning and growing together, right? Because our voices are going to be so critical at this time in history. And I think each of us will likely have a more pivotal role than we even can realize right now, right? We are stepping into our legacy as we speak. We are making history as we speak. And each of us, I think, will be called to new leadership roles and be asked to grapple with the immense challenges of a global pandemic, right? Which has been very disruptive to our societies, certainly in the United States, very much so. In a way that is unprecedented. So yeah, I would just hope for all of you here to have the confidence in your own abilities as women, as leaders. And if at some point you're able to listen to my TEDx talk, which was on this topic, Why Women Will Save the World, you would also hear that there is actually a basis in neuroscience for women's leadership, that there is proven data and research that for women, the prefrontal cortex of our brains is larger and more developed than in men. This is where we are making strategic decisions. The amygdala, or the fear center of the brain, is actually larger in men, which means that sometimes men can come from a more primitive response space, and the elements of sort of violence, aggression, and war in our world. Certainly men have traditionally led the world up into this point, right? So, and as we shift more women into leadership roles, I think we can bring more of that compassion, empathy, collaboration, connection, some of these important qualities that women bring to leadership. And I think, again, just to return to the context of India, in my experiences there, that the idea of mindfulness, the idea of being very present and mindful and bringing compassion and awareness just to your presence in each moment as a leader is so critical, because we will be called upon to make decisions that we may not have ever had to face before. And we need to be really centered in our own core values, our sense of compassion, and have the confidence to step forward and do this work.
Lisa, yeah. Janvi, can I go ahead or?
Go ahead.
Thanks, Lisa. And I wanted to ask you something. We've read about, we've come across adaptive leadership, which talks about distress, that you need to address distress and challenges in your life. So can you please tell us how you have addressed it in your own journey? You fleetingly mentioned about what you've gone through, because we've always seen that until unless we do not shed the past baggages we carry, we cannot emerge as leaders. So can you please throw light on that?
Absolutely, Dadichi. Yes, thank you. So yes, adaptive leadership, as Dadichi mentioned, focuses on 4 dimensions: navigating business environments, leading with empathy, learning with self-correction and reflection, and creating win-win solutions. And there are ways that I have been able to do this, as Dadichi mentioned, on my own personal path, which I can briefly share. And then, of course, also in my work. And so on my own personal journey, I have a deep heart of compassion for any women in this space or anywhere in the world who have been victims of violence, of sexual assault. And as I have said previously, 1 out of 3 women will be a victim of violence in her lifetime globally. So that is far too many of us. So, and part of my journey in terms of overcoming challenges and distresses was because of the experiences I endured. I did have post-traumatic stress disorder for a number of years, so that there were challenges of, panic attacks, anxiety in my daily life, even when we were graduate students together at Harvard, Dadichi. And I wouldn't show that to people publicly, but these were challenges I was facing, and, I needed to be out there doing my work and my studies. So I was fortunate to be able to work with several therapists, healers. I actually meditate for half an hour in the mornings daily, and have some spiritual teachers, including a spiritual teacher from India, from Pune, who was a forest meditation monk in Thailand, who I've studied with, and have there have been these practices that have helped me to really ground and heal from my own trauma in order to be able to step more fully into the world. And then I used that then to go out and help other women. So some of the keynotes and inspirational talks that I have done over the years, I've been a featured speaker at events for victims of sexual assault, and at events for organizations that raise money for women who are victims of violence. So I've been able to take my own personal experiences and show people that there is the possibility to heal and to transcend, and then to use our experiences to remember our own strength and our own resilience. And that once we have overcome these challenges, that we really can face and overcome any other challenges. So in terms of my work that I do in the world, obviously, overcoming challenges and finding creative ways to apply transformational leadership is critical. Certainly right now, during the COVID-19 global pandemic, I have worked with some clients who are facing huge challenges in this time. So I have some clients with my strategic planning and communications consulting work who are in the healthcare industry for seniors, right? For our portion of the population, the communities that I work with, the population tends to be in their 70s and their 80s and their 90s. Clearly with COVID-19, that demographic, those who are 85 and above, the mortality rates are at about 14%. They're quite high. It's a very much at-risk population. So in working with my clients, we've had to come up with a wide range of creative solutions to protect their residents at their senior living and assisted living communities, beginning with the basics of safety protocols. I've been helping some of these communities try to get more COVID-19 testing kits. It's been challenging in the United States. We've not had a national testing strategy, as many other women-led nations have done successfully. We have not done that successfully in the United States, unfortunately. So helping them to have the resources in order to be able to test and to have their residents be safe, but also coming up with creative solutions in the moment where so many of us are needing to use tools like this, like a Zoom webinar, right? And to rely on technology and to train their staff and residents in these communities to be able to host webinars and to virtually do tours of their communities, and to make sure that family members can communicate with seniors via Zoom or FaceTime so that people can stay connected while still being safe within this pandemic environment when a lot of these communities may not be allowing visitors in. But it's been this very challenging time, certainly for people in leadership in these communities. And so being able to work with them in order to come up with creative solutions has been one of the recent challenges that I've been working on with some of my clients. So, but I really do believe that when you look at the principles of adaptive leadership, that women, again, I feel are uniquely qualified to do some of this work, both from that neuroscience perspective, also so many of us in our societies as women are raised to be nurturers, to be caring and watching out for others. And I think that spirit, when we bring it to leadership, when we really truly value the lives of all of the people in our organization, our constituents, if we are elected leaders, equally to the level that we value our own lives, that we really are there to, we are literally as leaders right now working on challenges that are about saving lives, right? This is a critical time for all of us. So I think these skill sets are incredibly important. So did that cover that, Daritri?
Yes, thanks, Lisa. I also wanted to know something, what makes you so confident to say, even in your TEDx and even now, so we've put the topic as women will save the world. Are we trying to alienate men by saying this?
So yes, this is an excellent question. This is something that I thought about a lot in putting together my TEDx talk. And I will tell you a little bit of the background about why I chose that title, right? It's a bold title, Why Women Will Save the World, right? So, but here is the thing that I would like to express about that is that when I say women will save the world, this does not mean that women will suddenly take over, dominate, men will have no power, and that society will be unequal again, right? We are just trying to get to a level of gender equity globally. In saying the statement, which is a bold statement that women will save the world, part of what I took into consideration was that it's 2020, right? Men have been leading for millennia, and our global crises are honestly worse than ever in some ways right now, right? Climate change, the crisis that we face, which really is a question of, it's an existential crisis of human existence. I mean, we either save the environment and make this a safe planet for us to continue to live on collectively, or we will not have a home, right? I mean, this is a very serious challenge. This global pandemic is a very serious challenge. So what I have seen is, if you look throughout the course of history, the more that women rise up into leadership positions, there's a lot of research. There's a body of research. I talk about this in my TED Talk as well. The National Democratic Institute has looked at different countries where if women have equal power to men, we really are looking at gender equity and equality, right? So when there are women in decision-making places of power along with men, countries have better outcomes. There's less corruption. There's a higher standard of living. There's more stability. There's better education and healthcare. There's more economic development, increased cooperation between parties, and in conflict zones, more sustainable peace. And again, that is from studies from the National Democratic Institute. And a lot of this global research, when you also look at corporations, you see that when more women are in leadership roles in corporations, you're also getting better outcomes. So So in making that bold statement, and if you listen to my TED Talk, you will hear this as well. It is critically important for me to recognize, and I do in my TED Talk and I do in my work, that we as leaders do also, of course, do this work in partnership with men, right? So this is not about women taking over and just eliminating men from power. This is about us achieving equality and equity. But the point is, the more that women lead, the better outcomes we get. I mean, and when you look at the countries that are leading the way with COVID-19, as we've been mentioning previously, certainly Jacinda Ardern has been widely recognized, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, as potentially the top leader globally. I mean, there was a cover story about her in Time magazine recently, talking about her handling of this crisis. And, she immediately imposed a lockdown, at the beginning to not have people traveling into the country, had quarantining for people of 14 days and widespread testing. I looked at the statistics before this call. I believe currently they have 22 deaths in New Zealand. We are at above 120,000 deaths in the United States, right? Now, if you look at those numbers proportionally in terms of population, in New Zealand, it's 2 people per million. 2 people per million have died. In the United States, we're at about 369 deaths per million, right? So just look at those numbers, the exponential difference. But they had a national testing strategy, a national lockdown, right? We did not do these things in the United States. So Jacinda Ardern also, and I mentioned this in my TED Talk, has an amazing stance on climate change, right? She has committed to making New Zealand a zero carbon emissions country by 2050. So when you look at the nations that are really working to combat climate change and to ensure that their manufacturers, that their industries are complying with environmental regulations to ensure that they are not worsening this problem and exacerbating this problem of global climate change, Jacinda Ardern has been a standout leader. So you look at some of the other leaders in terms of the COVID-19 crisis, and Tsai Ing-wen in Taiwan, at the first sign of the illness, introduced 124 measures to block the spread, right? Immediately, out of the gate. So, and their response has been outstanding. So, Sanna Marin of Finland and Katrin Jakobsdottir of Iceland and Angela Merkel, obviously, who herself is a scientist, have been some of the other outstanding leaders. And currently 4 of the top countries in terms of handling this crisis are led by women. But when you look proportionally at the number of women leaders in the world compared to the number of male leaders, that's a high percentage of women in terms of being recognized as the top leaders in this dimension. So I feel like when you look at the way that women are handling these unprecedented challenges like the COVID-19 global pandemic and how we're going to face climate change and work on these issues collectively together, there just continues to be a growing body of research that the more that we elevate women, the better outcomes we get literally for everyone. So again, in making such a bold statement, and if you listen to my TED Talk, I do talk very much about how this is in partnership with men. It is absolutely not meant to alienate men. It is not that we are going to take over and just kick them out of the way. This has never been the intention. Women, and by nature, we are taught, we are nurtured and raised to be compassionate, loving beings. But I think that the compassion and sense of collaboration and connection and community that we bring to leadership are critical with the challenges our worlds are facing. And I also believe that because of that, and this again, both in the research and then when I was working for Gavin Newsom, who's now the governor of California, when he was the mayor of San Francisco, I was engaged in a lot of policy discussions. I was writing a strategic plan for performance management for the city and county of San Francisco to ensure that they could better deliver services to their constituents in an effective and efficient and transparent way using real-time data. So really fun project. But in working with Gavin Newsom's policy office, that was something that was reflected back to me from some of the women who worked in the policy offices, was just that they felt that that women leaders often can approach a problem, look at it in a collaborative way, get the team engaged around this core issue that we need to shift. And there just tends to be sometimes less of the need for that sense of kind of power, aggression, or ego coming into the mix is just not as common, right? So, and this is a time when our world needs a lot of healing, our world needs a lot of uplifting, and these challenges are too big for any individual to face alone, right? It takes teamwork. We are all in this together, all of us, globally. I am sitting here dealing with these challenges. You in India dealing with these challenges, right? So I feel like, all of us need to be collectively working together to face these unprecedented challenges. And that's really why I say that, is that women will save the world in partnership with men. However, we have so much work to do to bring it to the next level. And the more women leaders we have, the better job I believe we will do handling these crises.
Thanks, Lisa. I'll request Janvi to ask you the last question before we
Sure.
move to the question answer session.
Beautiful.
We're going into the question answer after this, right?
Okay.
Yes.
So this is just a different, it's just an aside from what you were talking about, Lisa.
Yes.
That you were the political campaigner in Hillary Clinton's time. How do you think it would have been if she had won the elections?
Oh my goodness. Trust me, I have thought about this a lot. I have thought about this quite a lot. So I will tell you as I give my answer, prior to being part of Hillary Clinton's campaign staff, I also had previously planned events for Hillary Clinton when she was my US Senator in the state of New York. So I had worked with her several times and knew her personally and had a good relationship with Hillary. And I found in my interactions with her, she truly, to this day, remains one of the most brilliant, hardworking, dedicated public servants I have ever met. She works so unbelievably hard, and she has this incredible ability to, I would plan events for her in my city. I would prepare a briefing book so that she could learn everything she needed to know about our community. She would read it on the airplane ride to my city. She would get up on the podium and talk about my town as if she had lived here her whole life, right? She just has this extraordinary ability to synthesize information. I've met so many people from her life. When I was working on the campaign, my campaign offices had people who were friends and family of Hillary Clinton who would come in to volunteer, to canvass and knock on doors. So I met people who worked with her when she was Secretary of State, when she was First Lady, who went to high school with Hillary, who went to college with Hillary Clinton. All of them said the same thing, how brilliant she was, how caring, how hardworking. And I would hear stories where someone who worked with her when she was Secretary of State said that, you could walk into Hillary Clinton's office and you could say, Hillary, I have, or dear Secretary, I have a question about the country of Bhutan and or Bangladesh. And Hillary would say, did you know this information about the women's rights history in Bangladesh? And she would literally be able to rattle off, 300 years of history, just an encyclopedic, kind of memory. So I feel that when you look at her level of commitment to public service, her understanding of policy, her intelligence, her reliance on experts in science, we've certainly seen that the countries that have done well in the COVID-19 pandemic, many of them have been led by women, but also women who are willing to lean on their scientists, their experts, who are willing to listen to epidemiologists and doctors who tell us what we need to do to prevent the spread of COVID-19. I believe with Hillary Clinton as a leader, and I've actually read a statistic, which is a very heartbreaking statistic, that if the United States of America had the same percentages that the countries that are doing well, led by women leaders, had in terms of the number of COVID-19 deaths, in terms of the number of COVID-19 cases, that we could have saved 100,000 lives by now. That we would have maybe 20,000 deaths and not 120,000. I believe that with Hillary Clinton as the leader of our country now, we would have saved lives in COVID-19. I believe that we would be able to do a better job in our country of addressing the issues that are happening now with the death of George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter movement, with racial relations in the United States, because our current president says some very inflammatory things, right? And has a history of that, right? And kind of pours some gasoline on the fire, right? So I genuinely believe that Hillary Clinton would have seen every person in the United States as someone that she needed to defend and stand for. And I believe our current president is really only interested in his supporters. I don't honestly believe, and it is very sad to say so, that he is concerned about the lives of many of the other US citizens. So on so many dimensions, and in terms of how we could continue to advance to be leaders in terms of environmental leadership, facing the crisis of climate change, there are so many levels in which I think that I in the United States would be living in a better country today. I think we have a lot of work to do in my country. And I'm certainly grateful for the freedoms I've been afforded as a woman and for the ability to do the work that I do in my life. And not women in all countries do not have the same level of human rights. So I'm very grateful for that. However, I think this has set us back as a nation, that we are not looked upon as the global leader that we were previously. And we've done some damage to our relationships with allies around the world. And that saddens me greatly. It really does. I believe that we were looked upon as an example and a role model in the world in a lot of ways. And I think with Hillary Clinton, we still would be looked at as a role model and in leaders. So it's very sad. From my perspective, very sad.
I agree. Thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
Over to you then.
Yeah. Thanks, Lisa. This was very interesting. Now, I have a lot of questions. I think we'll have another call to discuss.
Yes.
Before we go to our question answer session, I have one question which is kind of trivial, but not so trivial. And it's, how does a beautiful woman like you
You're so kind. You're so kind.
life? You know what? Usually, if you are young and beautiful and a woman, that's not to it's not a positive thing. People think that it's not because it's your merit that's brought you where you are, but it's your looks. So how have you handled this?
Oh my goodness. First of all, you're so kind, Aditi. You are quite beautiful yourself. Thank you. So honestly, it is something that has sometimes come up in the political world, right? More so than in other aspects of my leadership. If I am a keynote speaker at an organization or leading a leadership workshop for women, it's not an obstacle, it's not an issue. However, when I've been asked many times to run for office. I probably will eventually run for office in some capacity. And I can tell you of an incident when I was giving a speech on my platform because I was considering running for local office in my city. And at the end of my speech, I was in a room full of other Democrats and we were giving speeches. And there was a gentleman in the room, probably, maybe in his 60s and a little bit of an older gentleman who had this to say at the end of my speech, rather than comment upon the content. He did not comment upon the content of the speech. He said, "You're too attractive and it will bother women and they will grab their husbands," which I thought was such a very strange thing for a man to say in a room full of people. And I was a bit stunned, honestly. And I can't even remember exactly what my response was, but it made me very mindful that there will be times when people will judge you for externalities, right? What it means, Dadichli, honestly, is I think that women have to work even a little bit harder, that we have to be even better about managing our professional reputations, that we have to be impeccable about, being the way we present ourselves in professional environments at a level that men are not held to necessarily, because there are double standards for men and women in society in the way that people are judging us and assessing us, right? So I feel that that as a woman, we need to just continue to cultivate the confidence to know that our voice and our work is what matters, and to kind of shut out all of that noise from the world, because it's true. People will tell a woman you are too beautiful or not beautiful enough, or should dress differently, or do this or do that, or look a different way, or critique your hair, critique your makeup, critique your clothing. This does not happen to male politicians. I can tell you that. Nobody cares, right? So I feel like it is honestly a question that we need to be able to just be confident enough in our own abilities that we can let that go, whether the world, in whatever way the world is judging us, if that answers the question.
Yes, thank you. Before I hand over to Namrita, I wanted to, let me try. I'm trying my best to Is this visible? Is my screen being shared?
No.
Not yet, no.
Now?
Yes, now I can see it, yes.
Okay. This is our memento for Janvi. This is a Pattachitra.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. Lovely.
And Lisa, this is for you too.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. Thank you. So kind. You're so kind. It's so beautiful.
It's more than 2,000-year-old handicraft. So we will.
Wow.
This is not 2,000-year-old, but the tradition.
Wow.
2,000-year-old. It's called Pattachitra. It's made of dyes, natural dyes. So we'll definitely get one ship to Janvi and one for you. When you come here, we'll give it to you.
Beautiful. Perfect. I love it. I'm so honored. Thank you so much. I'll hang it in my office and remind myself of this amazing moment to be with all of you.
Thank you. Now over to Namrita.
Thank you, Lisa, for that amazing, insightful interaction.
Thank you.
I would request our respected past presidents if they would like to ask some questions.
Happy to answer any questions. So happy to be here.
Thank you. Any of our floor members?
Questions for Lisa?
You can ask, if anybody has more questions about Hillary, I can tell stories about Hillary, anything really. I'm an open book. I'm always happy to share.
And let me ask another question, which intrigues me about you, Lisa.
Sure.
You're an entrepreneur, you're a political activist, and you're inspirational speaker. How do you combine all this, or how do you achieve that balance? If there is
Yes. Balance is such a challenging one, right? I think especially for women. Honestly, really, I believe that my foundational practices for me are so critical. So again, I credit my spiritual teacher in India, my travels to India, my studies in India are a big part of why I am who I am today. So I'm super grateful for that. I make it a non-negotiable, just like we brush our teeth in the morning, that I will meditate for half an hour in the mornings, which for a lot of people that may not feel manageable, right? So right now I do not have young children in my household. A lot of women might have 3 children, 4 children in their household. So those can make those challenges greater. I think that for each of us though, being able to find little moments in our lives that we reserve for ourselves, for our own self-care, our own health. So whether that is meditation for you, whether that is physical exercise, taking a nice walk, right? Anything that we are doing that will help us to replenish ourselves so that we do not burn out. Because I really think one of the big challenges for women entrepreneurs, especially in balancing leadership challenges and family and all of the different things in our lives that we are juggling, I think that we really need to be replenishing ourselves and taking care of ourselves and making sure that as we try to take care of everyone else and take care of our organizations, that we do not forget that, as the Buddha said, we deserve the love and compassion that we give to everyone else, right? So that for me is really one of the main ways that I think that I do it. And then it's also just really prioritizing according to my values. So that the places I'm going to put my time and energy need to be in alignment with my core values. And it just means, I do not watch a lot of television. There are things that I don't do that I do less than the typical American, right? Because for me, my time is so valuable. So I'd rather be reading a good book to learn, or I'd rather be delivering a webinar to incredible women entrepreneurs in India. I'd rather be doing this. This for me is joy, right? So, but I think it's about taking care of ourselves and honoring ourselves, because we live in challenging times. We are juggling a lot. So I would ask you to please take good care of yourselves.
Thank you, Lisa. We have 2 more questions.
Yes.
So yes, can I, Amrita?
Sure.
So hi Lisa, this is Sunita here. So
Hello.
how do you feel after so much of success? And
Oh.
and what are you looking forward? Like, what now? What?
I love that question. Thank you. You know what's really interesting, Sunita, is that for me personally, every time I accomplish something that is a goal, I can be happy that I have completed that goal, but I honestly always feel like I am just beginning. I honestly feel like there is so much more work for me to do, right? So certainly I was proud of my work on the Hillary Clinton campaign. I was sad, of course, when we did not win. We won by 3 million popular votes, but that she is not the president. But for me, as soon as I finish an accomplishment, it's important for me to be focused on the next project, because these projects give me life, right? It really energizes me to be working on initiatives that are of service to other human beings. That really makes me happy. I love to do work to be of service. So I think that, and honestly, as a woman, I think many of us sometimes struggle to recognize our own accomplishments, right? Because we often undervalue ourselves. So I have to sometimes remind myself. Okay, Lisa, you did a good job. You can be proud of yourself for that. But then I'm ready to do the next thing, right? Then I'm ready to do the next thing. So I think for me, publishing my book is something I'm very much looking forward to. So that's just in, process of writing the book still. But when that is ready, that has been a goal of mine since I was a little girl. So I'm very much looking forward to that. This kind of work, being able to work with women entrepreneurs in other countries and empower and uplift women, inspires me so much. So I want to continue to do more of my leadership workshops, development, keynotes internationally as well, right? And I can't wait to return to India. Hopefully sometime I can be in a room with all of you when there's not COVID-19 and we can be together live, right? So, but I think for me, I want my legacy when I look back at my life to be a legacy of service and love, and to feel like I was able to make a difference for others and empower and inspire girls and women. So if in my lifetime I can do something that makes your life better, Sunita, I would be honored, right? Because it is about all of us.
Thank you so much.
It is about all of us, lifting us all up. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Lisa, we have another question from a member, Rekha Chineri, and she wants to know any takeaways that you want to give for the young entrepreneurs for today.
I love that question. Yes. So for the young entrepreneurs, I would say I would encourage you. I will encourage people, because I do believe it was an empowering message. For all of you to go listen to my TED Talk about why women will save the world. You can find it on YouTube, TEDx, and Google. But a lot of the message there is about, this is very specifically so important for women entrepreneurs. I want you to believe in your own capabilities. I want you to have the confidence to know that there is literally neuroscience already that demonstrates that women's brains are made for leadership. We are intended to lead. I don't think society always teaches us that. So I think that confidence gap that women tend to have, especially for younger entrepreneurs, maybe questioning if they are ready, if they are capable to take on a challenge, men tend to have less of that questioning. I would encourage young women, often there is research that shows that a man might apply for a job if he's only qualified for 50% of the qualifications. But if a woman is not 100% qualified, she often will not apply for that job. Do you know what? If you're 60%, 70%, 80% qualified, if you have done much of the work, and maybe there are a few other things you haven't learned yet, it's okay to still apply. You can learn as you go on the job. A lot of men apply for jobs where they learn as they go on the job, and women are often hesitant to do that. If you find your dream job, I encourage you to apply for it. The worst thing that can happen is you don't get the job. The worst thing that could happen is they say no, right? So, but you might step into an opportunity above and beyond what you initially believed you were capable of, and then be able to create something amazing for that organization. Like, trust yourself to pursue the opportunities that call to you as a leader, and to have the confidence that you will be able to do that work. And also, I would encourage young women to cultivate more mentors in your lives. Don't be afraid to reach out to women in your field who are role models for you. Don't be afraid to reach out and try to have conversations. So, and read books and study and read about women who inspire you. And, you know, go watch, not just mine, go watch a lot of TED Talks, watch TED Talks of people who inspire you, right? But I think that baseline of developing more confidence, of being willing to release the self-doubt and trusting that you have the capability to step into a new challenge or situation and to lead and to make your organization a better organization.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Before I ask our Senior Vice President, Senior Vice Chairperson to come, may I please ask our National President, Janvi ma'am, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, I would actually would love to continue talking to Lisa, but from what you said as a corollary to that, Lisa, so we come back to women really should be afraid to ask questions,
yes,
should improve on her self skills, and
yes,
don't just women to be positive women. You surround yourself with positive people, and to
absolutely.
be a leader, you have to have people smarter around you. Not
correct.
Smarter people.
Correct.
That's the way I think it would work.
Correct.
And,
yes.
Everyone grows together if you can get in that empathy.
Absolutely.
About the compassion, the collaboration, positivity, and be confident that you can have smarter people around you. Then I think that would be the hallmarks of.
Beautiful.
Right?
Yes, I love that. That is such a good point that you raised too. Do not be afraid to surround yourself with experts, with people who are smarter than you and in all different fields. It was one of the things that was most beautiful in my year at Harvard with Daritri when we were studying there, because our classmates were from 81 countries. They were so brilliant. There was the Minister of Agriculture from Austria. There was the Minister of Finance from Norway. One of my classmates was asked to run for president of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So many brilliant people, so many brilliant people. So I feel like, yes, you constantly want to be in a learning environment and also surround yourself with positivity. Absolutely. Absolutely. That we do. We lift each other up, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
So much, Lisa. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, thank you. And we can talk another time too. I loved this conversation so much. Continue the conversation. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you. Now I would like to call our Senior Vice Chairperson, Sunita Mahanti, to give the vote of thanks.
A very good evening to all of you again. Behind every successful woman is a tribe of unsuccessful women at her back. And this is how Flow works, supporting and backing each entrepreneur. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our very own lovely, beautiful chairperson, Dharitri, who works day in and day out to make this kind of webinars and sessions happen. And I swear each one of you agree with me, today's sessions was just awesome. Nevertheless, the most dynamic president of ours, Janvi, who is just a call away and every time makes her presence with us to make all our webinars happen so beautifully. Thank you, Janvi, for every time being with us. And the session was beautifully moderated by the very beautiful Namrita. She has done a wonderful job. Thank you, Namrita. And Lisa, there's so much to talk about you. I just can't stop loving you now. You were such an inspiration.
Oh my goodness.
You talked about entrepreneurship, women leadership, and there's so many takeaways from this session today. I'm sure when I have, each one of us sitting here has a takeaway from today's session. You have really justified that women will definitely save this world. Thank you, Lisa, for taking your time out and inspiring us. I also thank all the Flow members who have made their presence felt and made this webinar a success. But Lisa, you're just not getting out of my mind. I would definitely like to tell you that my takeaway is from your inspirational talk is we don't need to empower women. Women are already empowered and strong. It's just the world to see how it perceives this.
Yes.
All the women support each other. So interesting. Thank you once again, Lisa, for this wonderful session, and you will be in my memories forever. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, you are so kind. And I do invite everyone to stay in touch. I just put lisapowellgraham.com is my website. It's in the chat. I would love to continue the conversation with some of you. You are so kind. Thank you for those beautiful words. Truly, just a great honor. Darichri, I'm so honored that you invited me to participate in this. I am so honored, to be here in the presence of all of you amazing women. It's just a gift. I really appreciate it very much. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Forward to talking to you again very soon.
Thank you. Yes, let's please keep in touch. I would be very honored. I would be very honored. So thank you so much to everyone. This is a beautiful way to spend my morning.
Thank you, Lisa.
You.
Have a good day. Thanks.
You too, my dear. You too, my dear. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. Take care to everyone. Okay, and we will talk soon. Okay. Bye-bye. Are we closing the meeting too? I'm just making sure I'm not leaving before. I'm reading everybody's wonderful comments before I go, just because it makes me happy.